One of the biggest things the Steelers are going to have to try to figure out in the offseason is their quarterback future. Andrew, there are a lot of options. There are free agents. There are trades that could be made. There are draft picks that could be had. They're going to draft somewhere mid-round, it would look like, 16 to 20 in that range. If you're looking for a Kenny Pickett, he may not be around there. Do they do what they did with Devin Bush, move up? Do they sign someone, a veteran, to back up Mason Rudolph? What would you do at quarterback?
Well, you can go 20 to 15. They're going to pick 20th now. That's official. I think they can move up a handful of spots if Pickett falls in the draft, which is something, I'd be in favor of. I think if you come back next year with Mason Rudolph and Matt Canada as your quarterback coordinator combination, you're pretty much going to be setting the bar or the ceiling for your team at 8 wins. So if the Steelers want to treat next year like a bridge year, to steal a saying from Neil Huntington, and try to build everything up while at the same time waiting for a quarterback, you could do that, but then you're wasting a year of Cam Hayward, who's going to be, 35, TJ Watt in his prime, Minka. I don't know. That just, to me, seems a little short-sighted.
Right.
You could be competitive next year, but if you go with Rudolph, the best-case scenario is you backdoor your way into a 7 seed and get blown out in the first round of playoffs again. I don't like that.
Tony, that's why that reinforces my point is why they should have done that this year. That's what they should have done last offseason.
We agreed. I said the same thing as soon as they lost the Browns game. We were lockstep on that, man.
So, I mean, I like Kenny Pickett. Do I think he's a franchise savior? I don't. And I think if he gets drafted here specifically, the pressure of that, it's going to be really high. I mean, I think a much greater extent than what James Conner had when the Steelers drafted him. And look at him, he's gone somewhere else and he's flourished and kind of been the guy that the Steelers kind of wish they had the last 2.5 of his years here. So, I mean, I think it's more likely. They have so many holes money-wise, like the idea of them going out. If you're a veteran guy, if you're a Russell Wilson, if you're an Aaron Rodgers, you want to get traded and play behind that line? No. And even if you get a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's manageable, he's too expensive, right? So I think they spend money on shoring up the offensive line and shoring up the defensive line. And maybe you get a guy, maybe you get the kid from Liberty that can run a little bit, Malik Willis. Maybe you get him in the second round, and maybe you catch some lightning in the bottle there. But I just don't see using a first-round pick on a quarterback.
Paul.
Well, I don't like that. I don't like the idea either of trading all their picks to go get an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers makes them better, but I think this team needs really, really rebuilt. And they've been fooling themselves for the last 4 or 5 years that they are closer than they actually are. To me, if you have Mason Rudolph, if you're going to sign somebody, you sign one of these other guys that compete with him for a year and then really thoughtfully figure out what's next. But in the meantime, rebuild your offensive line and your team around the quarterback so that when you finally do get that young rookie quarterback, maybe 2 years from now or whatever, he's playing behind an offensive line that he actually has a chance. And just kind of, in other words, let Mason Rudolph be a sacrificial lamb next year and hope that you can rebuild the team while you're finding your next quarterback.
Bob, I think they can actually rebuild their offensive line in one offseason. Kansas City did it. We've seen the difference that one offseason made from last year's Super Bowl to now. I don't think it's as hard as some people make it out to be.
All right.
You sign a free agent or two, you got a ton of cap space, you draft a guy, and you get the right coach. Bob, bring Mike Munchak back to Pittsburgh.
Well, he's available now, and so are some other guys who could handle that. We got to take a break on that note. There are going to be changes, no doubt, because the Steelers certainly don't want this to continue in the postseason, where they haven't won since 2016, and they've allowed 40 points in each of their last 3 losses. We'll be back with more right after this.